Why would someone pay you to use your product? Simply because you're helping them solve a problem. The most important step of your design process is asking yourself, what am I solving here? And then ask, who am I solving this for? And then the most important question, is this problem worth solving? People have a lot of problems, but they are not always willing to pay for their solutions because they're sort of comfortable living with that problem. They're not ready to pay for the solution. In fact, in a lot of cases, your problem statement is actually not a real problem. Just because you are passionate about a specific problem does not mean that even other people are equally passionate about it. Therefore, before you start designing anything, there are three very important exercises that you and your team has to go through. I literally need you to take a pen and paper or even open your Notion diary and document your answers in thorough detail. Exercise number 1 is asking yourself, what is the core problem that I'm solving here? Is there anyone else solving the same problem or similar problems? How are they solving it? Are they going through a digital solution or a physical solution? Whatever it is that they're doing, digital or non-digital, what are they doing right and what are they doing wrong? If they're doing something wrong, how can I make it right? And what is the blocker behind doing it right? These people already know the problem statement, they are already solving similar problems. So why can't they do something that I am willing to do? Because they probably have more experience or more capital. So what do I know? What can I execute right now that most of these people are simply ignoring? Exercise number 2 is all about knowing your customer. Who am I solving this for? Will they actually pay me to solve this problem? And will they pay me on a regular basis? Or will they just pay me once to try it out and never come back? And you have to be very real with yourself. This entire exercise is usually called building a user persona. You actually make fictional user personas of your future customers to understand them more. And if possible, talk to your future customers. If you're planning to serve a certain section of people, talk to them beforehand, try to understand if they would be willing to pay for what you're gonna do. And don't fall for the sunken cost fallacy. We'll discuss this later on, but just because you've made some progress on the current problem statement, if you realize that your problem statement is not good enough, cut your losses and stop right there. Otherwise, a lot of people get too emotional about it, thinking that we spent so much time figuring out this problem, let's just go ahead and execute it. That is not how it works. You can always pivot and find a better problem statement through all the experiences and data that you've gathered so far. Exercise number 3 is all about calculating the costs. Figure out how much money do you need to build the first MVP, maybe to show your customers or maybe to do the research for your initial customers. Do you need a front-end developer, a back-end developer, somebody who understands a specific section of technology? How much would you need to invest in the salaries to build the core MVP to maybe show to your investors, in your pitch decks, or even to your initial customers? And when I talk about customers, it doesn't need to be a very big customer. You can talk to normal people as well. Even if you have a plan to make little amounts of money, even if you have a plan to have certain amount of cash flow, if not profitable, at least some money coming in the initial 3 to 4 months, that is still a very big achievement. And you have to be very careful about your first 5 customers because they influence you in a very strong way. Whatever feedback that you get from your first 5 customers is going to shape your product. So be very mindful about who you are selling to. And when they give you feedback, you have to be very mindful about who to listen and who to ignore, because everyone is going to try and tell you that you should do this with your product, you should do that with your product, and you can't accept all advice coming in. One important advice for B2B ideas is that you can always have a functional product that might not look very pretty. But when it comes to B2C products, aesthetics and marketing plays a huge role. So if you're into B2B businesses, it is very important that your product works really well, that your product can handle scale, because most of these companies are looking for functionality. They don't really care about making things look pretty. So you can still afford to lose out on aesthetics, but you have to make sure that your functionality is on point. When it comes to B2C, things become way more difficult because the competition is really high and a lot of consumers are very experienced. So you have to cater to both their functionality requirements as well as their aesthetic requirements. In both these cases, I would recommend you to prioritize pushing the product live and getting customers and getting some form of business. Push the product first and then iterate on all the feedback that you get. In a lot of cases, when you're going through the research, you'll realize that you've picked the wrong problem statement, and in reality, a lot of people will not pay for it. In that case, ask yourself, can I find a better problem statement? Because in a lot of startups, they often pivot after going through a certain journey. They actually pivot and completely change their idea moving forward. And that is completely natural. Just because you've invested some time solving a specific problem statement does not mean that you can't pivot. So in the initial stages, it is still easy to pivot to a better problem statement. If you can recognize a better problem, please pivot. Don't feel shy about it. You just have to make sure that you're solving a problem worth your time, worth your investment. And once you have clarity on your problem statement, your user persona, and your plan to get your first 5 customers, you're ready for the next stage. So I will see you in the next video. This video is from our free course, UX Design for Entrepreneurs and Founders, that will give you the best tips, resources, and a step-by-step plan towards building a team and designing your first app. All videos are in both Hindi and English. You'll find the link to the full course in description.